So we are completing or almost completing Mishnah 8 over here with the last types of things that the more you have, the more you do of it, the better it is. So we're going to just go to the share screen. And this is from Hillel. Marba Eitzah, Marba Tavuna. The more counsel or the more advice that you seek, the more understanding there is. Marbe tzedakah, the more tzedakah, the charity that you give, marbe shalom, the more peace there is. Kana shem tov, kana la'atzmo, if you acquire a good name, you've acquired it for yourself. Kana lo divrei Torah, if you acquired the words of Torah, kana lo chaye olam haba, you've acquired the world to come. Yeah, I think we're going to concentrate on the first part more. So we have this idea to marbe etza, to increase counsel. Now, some people may think, look, I'm a pretty smart guy. I know a lot. What do I need to who am I asking for advice? So first of all, obviously there's always someone who knows more than you that you should be able to ask for advice, or at least equal to you. And when you seek advice, so number one, you are going to develop a greater understanding because you're going to talk it out. So a lot of times when you have a situation and you're just thinking about it yourself, it's good, maybe and maybe it'll figure things out. But when you discuss it with someone else, even when that person is not necessarily smarter than you, just the very fact that you talk it out increases your ability to understand the situation and come to a decision. This, by the way, is also coming to a higher level of understanding, which we call navon, which is even higher than chachma. Another angle on this, Tiferes Yisrael points out, is he's the one who's looking at these as from leadership position. So if you're a leader, then you should be still seeking advice. You should seek advice from those who are your teachers or your colleagues. And he says through advice and discussion, he uses the term arubos hashamayim, like the windows of heaven will open up. And it could take it in a spiritual sense that it's saying that Hashem is going to provide for you because you did that, but you could also tell in terms of it just opens up the understanding that by the more you discuss something, then the greater the understanding, and it does open up avenues which you had not thought of before, and now you will all of a sudden see things differently. There's an interesting thing brought down that we say that you're going to ask for advice, right? So what happens is you ask for advice and then you do whatever you want anyway, right? So a lot of people don't listen to the advice they get. So what's the point? In article quotes a folk saying that people seek advice, they do what they want anyway. So Rav Chaim Volozhin explains that there is still a benefit of seeking advice. And also, one of the things you have to understand when you seek advice, that when you seek advice about your situation, no matter how great the other person is, they can't really fully 100% understand exactly what your situation is, right? They can get a pretty good idea, but it's not perfect because they're not you. And therefore, that person is coming with advice that's going to be somewhat limited. And you're the one who still has to put that extra part. On the other hand, the person who is involved is biased, and you're a lot of times you can't see all of the angles because you're kind of sort of fixated on whatever it is that's your issue. So the other person is much more objective. So the advisor can come from an objective position and provide ways of seeing something that you may not have been able to notice. But you still have to look at it from your personal situation and say, is that going to work for me? And that's where advice comes in, that you may or may not end up listening to the advice, but it's going to expand your understanding of your circumstances. And that's really the goal of advice. You have to remember saying also, advice is not to be confused with psak. Psak is if you go and you say, what is the law in such a situation? What am I allowed to do? What would I have to do? So that's a different story. You're going to a great rabbi or someone to say, what should I do? That as a decision maker. But if you're just merely going for advice, even if you're going to someone who's a great person, they're not saying you have to listen to them. They're saying I'm giving you the parameters in a different way that you may have seen before, and now you have to make that ultimate decision as to how you're going to handle the situation. So that's an important idea. Um, Looking at the idea of tzedakah, so it told us that tzedakah increases peace. And Rabbeinu Yonah points out when you give tzedakah, well, for one thing, people are going to like you when they're receiving it. So it causes people to love you. Therefore, by definition, it increases peace in the world because it makes people care more about each other, feel good about each other. Another aspect of it, and we've talked about this as well, is not only you're giving, but you're encouraging other people to give. Because when you encourage others to give, you also, at first of all, get credit as if you gave. And people are going to be happy because people are going to feel like, oh, I did something good, and you are the one who made me, who got me to do that good thing. And they'll feel good about you. They'll feel good about themselves. So in that sense as well, it increases the peace. Another angle on the tzedakah, the Maharal points out, is it's not just giving money, but it's getting involved, right? You're getting involved in whether it's raising money for the organization or maybe even the physical aspects of whatever it is that's being performed with it, right? Tzedakah is not just about money, and you're also getting other people involved. So that's a way of increasing peace again, because what you're doing is you're cultivating an attitude that's focusing on the need. By getting involved in the aspect of who's on the receiving end, you're creating more close relationships as well. Irving Bunim points out another idea that you know, one of the things with tzedakah is we're trying to, what you want to call it, even the playing field a little bit, right? When some people they have the haves and the have-nots, a lot of times that can lead to strife. It can lead to arguments, and it sometimes could even lead to worse than that. And tzedakah helps avoid that and bring peace by making the people who have less be in a situation where they're able to deal with it. And it also brings peace to yourself because you know that you did something good, right? And you know that someone else who was hurting, you now have been able to help relieve their suffering. Um, and really, the idea of when you know that someone else is suffering, really, we should be feeling it. And if we're feeling it, then we should be doing something about it. And therefore, someone who feels the pain of others and then is able to help them, so you're actually providing more peace of mind for yourself as well, because now I don't have to feel that person suffering, right? I'm also feeling good about it. Um, this is not from him, but there's a story. I can't remember who the rabbi was, but of a rav who was raising money for someone in need, or maybe it was multiple people in need, and he went to a wealthy man's house, and um, when the person invited him in to talk, he didn't want to go inside. He stood in the doorway, and it was in the middle of the winter, and it was freezing, and he was and then he started to describe how the people, they don't have money, they can't buy proper clothing and etc. And anyway, the person gave a nice donation, and he asked him later, why is it that you were standing here and didn't come in? And he said, because I wanted to have the door open with the cold so you could feel it. And if you're able to feel the cold, you'd be able to appreciate what these other people are going through more, right? And that's an idea, is that we have to be able to have the feeling for what other people are going through, and then we'll be more willing to help out and more willing to give. Um, and just another thought on the good name before we go is that one thing about a good name is that a good name is something that is totally yours. It says Kana Shem Tov, you acquire a good name, you've acquired it for yourself. No one can take away your good name from you. And that's something that is not coming from the outside, is coming because you have a good name because you earned it. And it's also something that when a person passes on, their good name stays with them. And it's not like your wealth, which you can't take with you and it goes to the next generation or whoever else you gave it to. But your good name is something that is always going to be connected to you. And therefore, it's kana shem tov. When you acquire that, it's kana la'atzmo. You've acquired it for yourself, and eternally, that good name remains with you. we'll have to hold it here. Have a great day.